Good
Right.
afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. For those who don't know me, I'm Carolyn Link. I'm the UCLA Disabilities in Computing Program Senior Program Manager, and I'm joined today by two amazing Australian left-eye racers, Reed McCracken and Sam McIntosh. Thank you both for being here.
Hey, thanks.
Thanks.
To kick us off, could you introduce yourselves for those who are unfamiliar with you and your careers?
After you, Sam.
I'm Sam McIntosh. I am a T52 100-meter athlete. I have been racing since like 2010 now, so it's been quite a while. Bit of a storied career, if you want to put it that way, or just making me feel old. But yeah, been doing it for quite a long time.
I'm Reed McCracken. I'm a T34 100 meter, 800 meter racer. I started competing in 2011, 2012. So I feel just as old as Sam does.
Can you explain to the audience who may not be familiar with the classification system, what your classification means, what disabilities are included in those?
I'm a T52 athlete. The T stands for track in athletics, and if there's an F, it means field. And the 52 category for me is a wheelchair category. Um, and it's traditionally been a quadriplegic category, but it's open to people that have um, muscle deficiencies in all four limbs. Traditionally, that normally means no movement, kind of from chest down, and then limited wrist and hand dexterity.
Yeah, so T34 is the same as Sam, T track, F field. T34 is a cerebral palsy class. So cerebral palsy classes are all the 30s. So from 33 up, and 34 is wheelchair racing, and usually it's affected in lower limbs with some people having an effect in their upper body as well, but 34 mainly just lower limbs. 33 is more the dexterity in their hands.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those explanations. I'm sure that's going to help the audience understand a little bit better about para sport. Can you share a little bit about what got you into sport and how it's impacted your lives thus far?
Sure. Always was a really sporty kid growing up. Prior to me getting the spinal cord injury, I had that when I was 17, so straight away I knew I wanted to get into some sort of sport. I wasn't really aware of what sporting options were available for me at the time. Initially, when I was going through the rehabilitation process, I really was drawn to wheelchair rugby, but unfortunately I had to travel quite a big distance to be able to do that sport. So a local Paralympian kind of got me into wheelchair track racing, Richard Coleman, and yeah, kind of just fell in love with the idea of going as fast as possible.
Amazing.
I'm sort of similar. I had an interest in sport at a younger age, but wasn't didn't necessarily want to do it all that much. Just wanted to be a part of it because my family had an involvement in it. My sister was doing sports, so I would go along with them. And then I, after Beijing, watching the Paralympics on TV in 2008, I sort of decided that I wanted to have a go at trying to be in some sport. But Paralympic sport or just disability sport in general can be challenging to get into as well. Just trying to, especially equipment sport, trying to locate the equipment from Bundaberg, which is a small town in Queensland. So trying to access some of the things were quite challenging. And I was fortunate enough to have I met a television presenter here in Australia, and he introduced me to the right people and other Paralympians who helped guide me into the path of wheelchair racing. So that's sort of how I fell into the sport a little bit.
That's awesome. And from my understanding, you both had kind of similar timelines. You both watched Beijing 2008 and were inspired by that games. And you both are about to go to your fourth game. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, that is number four.
yeah. I was just gonna say, I think Beijing especially was like big for a lot of in our timeline for me and Sam, like just because it was like one of the first games we could watch on television. So I think it inspired like that a lot of people in our team, like that
A new
era,
generation
new
of
generation of
racers.
It's true. Yeah, it was well televised, and because of like where it was in the world, it was on at a pretty decent hour to watch as well. China's got a pretty similar time zone to us, so we didn't have to get up in the middle of the night to watch a lot of it, which was nice.
Over these last four games, I believe you both have been roommates for the entire period of your lives. Has that been a really great part of this continuity for this adventure for you both?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Reed was all of what, 16 for your first games?
15, yeah.
So
15.
it was kind of given to me as a bit of a guardian role to kind of look after him for that first games. Um, which was, an interesting thing for your first games to kind of be stuck with a kid, but no, it was good. We've kind of learned each other's quirks over all these years, and we're pretty good roommates now.
Yeah, I think over time, and you just, yeah, like Sam said, you learn other, like when you travel a lot with people, you learn to like and hate things that certain people do, and or whatever it is, and you notice everything. So, um, but with Sam, I've never really had to worry too much about that. I've always, even domestic stuff, if we go somewhere where we're staying, I've always been in a room with Sam. So yeah, you learn each other's quirks and characteristics, and it makes it easier to know that you're going to travel, and especially in a stressful environment like Paralympics, where that's like already, and everything's already hyped there. So if you've got someone that you know really well, it makes it easier.
Absolutely.
Because not only are you roommates during the games, but as I think Reed just touched on, you're roommates for other types of travel, both domestic and other international competitions. So the two of you have seen quite a lot of countries together.
Yeah, we've seen quite a few countries. The one we see the most is Switzerland. We kind of hit that at least once every year. So yeah, we're pretty good at traveling together.
Yeah, you do learn a lot of things about people as well. So like, yeah, as I said, you learn like how to work in with each other and in stressful situations. So yeah.
When a lot of interviews happen around elite sport, they talk a lot about sporting accomplishments. But what are some highlights of being in a team social environment in an individual sport?
I think it's just a bit of a sense of community because, like you said, it is an individual sport, and quite often you do feel quite isolated when it is just you out on the track having to do the job. Um, but getting to grow up, a lot of the people on the team currently are people that have come through at a very similar time, like me and Reed. So I've kind of grown and got to know them and kind of watched their journeys, aside for ours. And that's been really cool. It's also just nice having a bunch of like-minded people around. You can kind of learn from each other, share a bunch of stories. Obviously, there's a whole range of different problems and issues around disability and disability culture. So it's kind of nice to have similar people around that we can kind of talk crap and shoot the shit with, to use bad
Yeah.
language.
Yeah, and like even just to touch on that, like there's highs and lows of it, like especially at games, like there's always someone who's got a success story, and there's someone who might not be as happy with their performance. So it's always nice, like yeah, Sam said, you're the individual there, so you ride that wave especially much harder than anyone else because you're the one on the track a lot of the time on your own, and so when you can have a team around you that'll support is just much nicer. And like a lot of those people we've traveled with a lot now, so it does make it easier to have people around you in a team and just yeah relax once the highs and lows have happened.
It sounds like a really supportive environment full of a lot of love and understanding. Recognizing that Tokyo 2020, or should I say 2021, was in a bubble, how do you both feel about going back to a quote normal games with an audience and a lot more chaos going on?
In terms of the audience and the crowds and that part of it, I think is really exciting. I think it's good for sport and it's good for everyone in general, just who work really hard to be at the games, to be able to have the crowds back in that atmosphere. In terms of village back to normal, I think everyone's, I don't know, like Rio was so long ago when we had a dining hall and had all of those things. So Tokyo, we were kind of very lucky in a sense. Australia had a great support bubble. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what it's like to go back to a bit more normality in a village.
Yeah, we're definitely told not to kind of commingle with any other countries in Tokyo, so I think it'll be kind of nice to be able to get out and explore a busy village life a little bit more. Um, but yeah, at the same time, we're there to do a job, and we need to be rested and recovered as much as possible for when we do race. So it looks really cool on TV, but a lot of the time you can't kind of get out and enjoy it too much until after you're kind of finished racing. But yeah, like also what Reed mentioned, it's going to be really nice to have some more people in the stands. Hopefully they can sell some good ticket numbers and pack it out for us when we're there.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that, we're not out of the woods with COVID as well. There's still the lingering threat. So I'm sure that's on every team doctor's minds as you all go travel and commingle with people coming together from all over the world.
Yeah, definitely gotta be very health conscious.
Yeah.
It's 3 years this time, but traditionally 4 years leading into a game. So the last thing you want to do is get over there and come down with a cold or some sort of preventable illness that you could have easily not got.
It's also like, yeah, even just with that, just looking after yourself, because in Australia here it's winter, but like it's going to be hot. It's supposed to be hot in Paris, so it's taxing anyway. It's fatiguing just being in the village because it's stressful and there's a lot happening. And then, yeah, the climate to it as well. So it's just a matter of just being smart with things and trying not to, like, the village is very overwhelming. There's a lot to do. So trying to just manage it as well. Even just for some, like for me and Sam, I've been to multiple games. It's still an overwhelming experience. So just trying to manage that.
Yeah, the first kind of 48 hours when you get there, and it's always overwhelming. Just seeing a whole village set up and you see all the flags lining all the buildings, and yeah, it's a lot to take in.
Yeah. And you've traveled a long way. Like you've traveled a lot, you run down, and then you add all of that into it. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I don't really remember, but I don't know how we handled London. I don't know if we handled it. I can't remember, to be fair. So it's just one of
From
those
memory, it was
things.
kind of just, yeah, an overwhelming whirlwind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
being
is
that
exciting.
first
The village is
games.
exciting, and everything's free in the village. You can just, like, you get food 24/7. You can get, there's vending machines. There's all kinds of things. So it is really overwhelming, and even now, like going into a village is exciting. So yeah, just trying to manage it, and yeah, like Sam said, you're there to do a job. So you're trying to, your health comes first more than a free vending machine.
We certainly took advantage of that in 2012, though.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
very much so.
It sounds like your priorities have developed over the years. That's great.
Yeah.
So going into Paris 2024, what's something that you're really looking forward to both on and off the track for this experience?
Free vending machine. No, I think
Anything particular out of the vending machine?
no, yeah, I think
Those the chocolate muffins look good.
yeah, chocolate muffins, they do look good. I've seen a lot about those. There's a
Shout out to the
bakery there,
Norwegian
so
swimmer.
yeah, there's a bakery in there, so hopefully, you know, croissants, all that kind of stuff. I in the serious note, I do look forward to just being back on the track and seeing, like, yeah, crowds, atmosphere, that sort of thing is something I'm looking forward to on the track. Along with, I know everyone's worked really hard, so just to see good performances from Australia and I think that's what I look forward to on and off the track.
It's also a really good opportunity to view and get involved in other sports as well. Sometimes because we are so separated being in individual sports, it's really nice kind of being able to come together and kind of sit down and watch sports with other athletes from different event groups. It's kind of really cool just to get behind Australia as a whole instead of your individual sport that you kind of know and are surrounded by all the time.
Yeah, and there's chances like Sam said, to even just with other sports. I'm not sure how Paris will be, but like me and Sam had an opportunity to go to like the rugby in Rio, and just to be able to to see the competition at that level, but also like you don't always get the opportunity to go see them live. So it's a good opportunity to not only do your sport, but also see the highest level of other sports, not just watching on TV.
Definitely. That kind of leads me into one of my next questions, which is considering there are so many other amazing athletes in sports taking place, is there an athlete in a different sport or event that you're especially excited to cheer on?
I mean, for me, kind of like what Reed touched on, I always love wheelchair rugby. It's something because I initially wanted to play it, but also I just love the idea of a full contact sport in wheelchairs. It just seems kind of chaotic and hilarious that they just go out there and beat the heck out of each other. So that's always been really tempting to me. So getting to hopefully maybe be able to see a game of that live would be really, really cool. I've been really enjoying the fact that it is a mixed sport with male and female athletes. It's really cool seeing, um, yeah, those two group and see how they kind of set up the court with the different athletes. I know I'm kind of friends with Ella Salovic from Australia, and I know Shrey Graham's also a really cool athlete as well. So it's going to be kind of cool to see those girls go in there and hopefully beat up some other countries. No mercy.
If I'm not mistaken, I saw that on the Australian roster, there's three women on the rugby roster, and there was only one going into Tokyo. And I know that in Tokyo it was a very new concept, even though it's always been available to women. That not a lot of teams had women on them, so Australia's a real pioneer in normalizing that, and I'm sure they're eager to set a great example of that come Paris.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I would
definitely. I
like to
mean,
get back to
they're
what,
world champions at the moment, so
yeah.
they're doing the right thing.
I would like to get back and watch a game, like especially in Paris, if we can get the opportunity to. Without, there's other sports that I look forward to seeing, but rugby is, like Sam said, I know I'm friendly with some of the guys on the rugby team as well, so I like to see them. I would like to see them do well, and not being able to go see games in Tokyo was a bit disappointing. So if we can get the opportunity, definitely to go see them in Paris.
Amazing. I remember there was this one, a really iconic picture the IPC kept reposting of Riley Bat, like upturned, scoring, and it just went viral for several weeks after they played last games, and I think it brought a lot of really good attention to the sport, just for lay people who thought it just looked so cool and exciting.
It is pretty awesome to watch. Yeah.
Definitely. Do either of you have recommendations, especially for like budding athletes who may get really intimidated, especially like you were saying, you don't have tech in call rooms. Often at local competitions, even you're allowed to have your coach with you at call center, call room, how they can kind of keep themselves in the right headspace as they go out there because they often aren't surrounded necessarily by a team or support system and learn those techniques.
It could be pretty intimidating, especially like your first Paralympics or first World Championships where you go through a proper long call room. Like they can be up to 40 minutes before by the time you leave the warm-up track and get onto the track to race. So it can be a long time to be alone with your thoughts. Um, I know for me, it's been really helpful working with sports psychologists just to kind of come up with strategies to kind of keep yourself calm because it can be quite easy to get onto a loop of a lot of what ifs or what's going to happen before you get out there, at least for me, especially when you're sitting, you're all lined up with your competitors and you're kind of either looking at each other or trying to play it tough against each other. So for me, that's been really helpful at least.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that even like yeah, what Sam said, like the core room is such a long time, and it's hard because there's usually like Paralympics there's multiple call rooms. So there's like first call, and then there'll be second call, and then so it can be easy to get stressed in first call. But that's usually like 10 minutes. So you got another 30 minutes like in the next call. So especially at your first games. So yeah, I mean, it's great to say like what I don't know about Sam's, like Sam would have as well, but like just learning how to deal with things yourself. And you spend a lot of time racing usually a lot of the same competitors, so you learn how they do things as well. So um, that is a way of, I don't know, just being older and more mature of it and sort of knowing your competitors. It's hard when you're young, I get, but yeah, working with a sports psych especially will help with just keeping calm in those situations because yeah, quorum can be intimidating, long, and just really overwhelming, especially if you can hear the stadium. Uh,
Oh
that
yeah.
stress level, yeah.
I know Rio was real bad for that. It was like
Mm,
kind of open seating. So you could hear all the guns and like the crowd cheering every time a race started. And yeah, it
yeah,
was pretty intimidating at that place.
yeah.
That would be a lot of adrenaline spiking.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's something you can prep for as much as you can, but not for the first time. Like for the first one, there's not really much that'll get you. Like yeah, like Sam said, we get ready now and do everything that we can to make sure that through call we're as prepped and do all the stuff. But for the first one, there's nothing you can do that's going to really make it
Yeah.
real and ready until you have
You
that
kind of just got to
experience.
ride the wave. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and just hope you don't burn yourself out in the call room.
Yep.
So the advice to a budding athlete would be feel your feelings, try and not let them get to you too much, but accept that it takes practice. That if it gets you at some races, like it's part of the learning curve, and not to feel too bad about that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Any race day, it's going to be a really long and tiring and stressful experience. So definitely my main advice would be try not to like over pump yourself up. Like as soon as you get to the warm up track and start all that, like try to ease your way into it because it's too long to be completely at the top of your slack up level to try to sustain
especially
it for that long.
and as a young, not even just young ages, like even what I worked with my sports psych over the years is just like a lot of the times I was turning up to the call room having already run the race 3 million times before getting to the call room. Like in my own head, I was just going over and over and over what the race was going to be, what it was going to happen, and you can't control that. You can only do what you can do in the moment. So, trying to avoid just running the race for 24 hours before the race even happened. It's pointless, and you just using energy that isn't needed.
Sounds like some good advice. I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but the next game after Paris is here in LA, and in fact, the village will be hosted here at UCLA. And then the one after that for 2032 is, of course, a home game for you both in Brisbane. And of course, I will not make the mistake of asking where your head's at for either of those games because that is way too far in the distance. But I am curious about, is there any developments for like the Paralympic movement that you'd really like to see going in these next two games?
From our first games in London in 2012, I think they did a really good job. They kind of set the standard for how the media covered a lot of the sports and the games, the Paralympics. I think it's kind of been steadily building each game. We're getting more and more television time and more like exposure in the press, which has been really good. Um, I know there's a lot more athletes that are getting, bigger sponsorships and more support thrown behind them as like the viewership goes up. So hopefully that continues all the way to home games. I'd love to be able to get to home games and see it absolutely packed out with the same numbers and getting the same kind of eyes and media exposure as the Olympics. That would be really, really cool. But I don't know. Having never experienced a home game, so it's just kind of a pretty exciting thing to have an event this big there, whether or not I will be there. Um, like you said, not going to think about how old I'll be when that rolls around. So maybe in the stands, we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it would be amazing to go to a home games, but yes, it does give you sometimes you think like, oh, once you get through Paris, 4 years, you get to LA, and then you go, oh, that's just another 4 years. But it's stress, like it's so hard on your body as well to try and keep going for that many games and get yourself ready each cycle to get up for the games as well. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll just retire when Sam retires because I won't be able to room with anyone else. So um, I'll just go when he goes.
You heard
I
it
like the
here, folks.
solidarity.
It's a roommate solidarity here between the two of you.
I don't like change, and I couldn't handle it.
Well, that'll be a story. We'll have to check in on that after these games and see how the roommates are doing. Because I know that your co-captain Angie Ballard is coming up into her seventh game, so at least you have an icon in your bubble. At least you see the longevity of someone who's really dedicated their lives to the sport and what that career can look like in a long-term capacity.
I don't think my body will hold
Yep.
up, but it's amazing that she's been able to do that. I just don't think I'm going to be able to do that.
We'll have to check back in. But this has all been really amazing. But my final question is just to wrap it up for the audience. What is something that you wish allies would know going into the Paris 2024 games about sport or the Paralympics or a call to action? Because there are a lot of our viewers from our audience are really interested about how to better support disability culture in general and para sport as one of those sectors.
Just watch, chat with it about your friends. If you see a cool performance, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it on social media, all those things. I think it's just about, I hate saying this, but spreading the word, turning it into just like a regular conversation piece, like the Olympics would be at the moment. Yeah, the more eyes on it, the more people watch different sports and see different disabilities and see what those disabilities are capable of at a very high level would be the coolest thing to come out of it.
Yeah, I think just eyes on it, like Sam said, eyes on all sports and yeah, making it the norm. Because I feel like all Paralympics or all games, we always say like we want to keep that momentum of the viewership going, and sometimes it does drop a little bit after the games, which is yeah, I think we just need to make sure we keep that going and eyes on the sports and across the world, seeing it and yeah, like across social media and just make it the normal conversation to have.
What I'm hearing is watch the Paralympics, which this year will be the 28th of August until the 9th of September, and get involved in social media. So maybe follow athletes and Paralympic accounts and share memes and whatnot with your friends to really get those conversations going, which I'm very excited to do as we approach this game.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for being here, and just know that you have a huge cheering section here at UCLA from all of your fans on this side of the world. And we will definitely be posting about both of your race times and accomplishments. So for our audience, please check in with our socials about that. But thank you so much again to you both. Again, this has been Reed McCracken and Sam McIntosh from the Australian Paralympic team on their way to Paris 2024.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.